What's up, college football fans and Mean Green fans? Sonoy Valente here once again with the Mean Green Show today, joined by college football insider Shehan oh, I had it pre-taped. I'm sorry, Shehan. Say it for them, for me.
Yes, Shehan Jeyarajah.
Shehan Jeyarajah. If you can attest, I did say it right once before we went live here,
It
but
happens. It happens.
yes, but anyway, before we get into all things North Texas, as we are on the day of fall camp starting, guys, you already know the drill. If you're a fan of college football or G5 football, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Well, Shehan, I really appreciate your time jumping on. How's the summer been for you?
It's been a lot of fun. It's been a hectic one. We've been traveling a lot. I feel like we've traveled more during this summer than the last 3 years combined. All three of our combined siblings between me and my wife actually graduated from college. So we have been zooming across the country trying to get to everybody's graduation. So I'm kind of looking forward to football season starting so I can get back to a normal schedule.
Yeah, if you call that normal, then rock on. But kind of jumping into the North Texas stuff and want to backtrack a little bit, get your perspective on, the initial hiring of Eric Morris by North Texas and how he's approached his first year as head coach for the Mean Green thus far, as it pertains to his coaching hires and recruiting and, stuff like that. Just would love to hear your take on it.
Well, it's a great question. And I obviously got to know Eric Morris a little bit during his time at Incarnate Word. And he took a program that had never been anything. I mean, truly, and found something that just really worked. He had a great way with quarterbacks, of course, Cameron Ward being notable among them, who he brought to Washington State and who had some success last season. And the thing about it too is like obviously we've seen a lot of these air raid type coordinators come up, but he just had a very dynamic way about him. Obviously, there's going to be comparisons to not just Seth Luttrell, but also Graham Harrell coming here early in North Texas tenure. And I think that he brings a lot of that good with a lot of also perspective of how to build a program, how to do things at a high level. And I think some really nice connections in the state of Texas too. So I thought it was a really great hire. Obviously, sometimes it's funny whenever you make a hire after letting go of somebody else, sometimes you go with an opposite. This is a little bit more aligned, of course, with the Seth Luttrell type hire, but there was a lot of good that came from the Seth Luttrell hire too, and I think Eric Morris has the ability to take it to the next level.
Speaking of the next level, where do you anticipate the floor being for this 23 team as well as the ceiling?
It's a good question. And, for me, obviously that quarterback competition is still open. I think that's going to be a really big deal for North Texas heading into the 2023 season. And the level of competition is just a little bit different too, of course, moving up to the American Athletic Conference. I mean, this is a team, obviously, last year that won 7 games. It's going to be, I think, a team that's probably right around at the bottom end, around that bowl range, right? Where you're talking maybe a 5 or a 6. I mean, I think if it was more like a 4, I think you'd be pretty disappointed in that. If I'm looking at North Texas, I mean, I want them to compete with Memphis. I want them to give Tulane a good game. I want them to compete with SMU. It's a pretty tough schedule by AAC standards. So, look, I mean, if the final number doesn't look as impressive as maybe people want, I think that there's reasons to have optimism still. But, I think that anything less than 5 would feel pretty disappointing. And the other part of it, too, is, even with that 4, 5, 6 range, I want them to be competitive in some of these games against big time opponents, because I think that this is a roster that's a little bit better than what it's performed over the past couple of years.
Looking forward or looking ahead to the Cal game, what do you anticipate, if anything, fans will be able to learn from the Cal game? Also, let's play hypothetical. Hypothetically, if you're a head coach, and we know Coach Morris would never say this on record, or probably not even off record, but his first game, as a head coach is against a Power 5 program at home. He doesn't get, the Abilene Christian or something like that to start off. So there's really no warm up. But what are your thoughts on as far as, again, like what we can gather from the Cal game, if anything at all? And, how do you think he might feel about having to open up with a Power 5 program at home?
Yeah, I mean, it's a Mike Blush revenge game, right? So I guess with him coming to town as offensive line coach at Cal. But, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. I think it's going to be a good test for them. The thing about Cal that's probably kind of a perfect thing is that they do some elite things, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So it'll be a good test. I think that this is probably a game where we will see multiple quarterbacks be able to try some things out. If they were to lose this game, I don't think that's a disaster by any means. I mean, Cal's a pretty good team. But again, I think that it allows you to try some stuff situationally. It allows you to get some different personnel in there. And the other part of it too is I think it'll be a good confidence building game for that offense because Cal, is going to be breaking in a new offense as well under Jake Spavital, and we don't necessarily know who's going to be the guy for them at quarterback either. So I think that it's a good opportunity to overperform, if that makes sense. It's a good opportunity to try some things out if you're Eric Morris. Now, look, I think everybody feels a little bit better whenever you start a tenure with a win. But that's just, the reality of having a Power 5 team come to town. So I think it'll be a good challenge for them. And as long as they're competitive, I mean, look, if they got blown out, I think that would be a disappointment. But as long as that doesn't happen, I think that it's going to be a fine game for them.
I think currently Cal is 9-point favorites. Do you like Cal to cover, or do you like North Texas to cover that?
I'd say that Cal will get a late cover. It'll be something like 10-13, something like that. But again, if it's a really competitive game at halftime and Cal just kind of like out talents them at the end as a Power 5 team, I think that I'd feel really, really good about that.
So we've seen what SMU has done in the recruiting, as well as just their program is on the rise, and they're a big time factor in the NIL sphere and everything going on like that. Do you think Coach Morris will be able to get a win against SMU at any point during his coaching stint at North Texas?
I mean, it's a really good question, right? I think that this is going to be there are two programs that North Texas is going to be measured against most in the American Athletic Conference, and that's SMU, the crosstown rival, and of course that's UTSA, who in many ways is the program that's living the life that North Texas maybe feels like it should have been living. And so, look, it's going to be a really tough situation with obviously the talent that SMU has brought in, the Power 5 talent they're working with right now. Preston Stone at quarterback was somebody who had offers from everybody in the country. And so, look, if I'm thinking, right, I'm thinking that Eric Morris is maybe a 3 or 4 year coach, and then maybe he gets a promotion, right? I think he's going to have a lot of success at North Texas. So over the next 3 or 4 years, can North Texas win one of those games? If I had to bet right now, I'd say no. But I do think that, there's going to be plenty of these games that are at home. Obviously, North Texas is going to be able to benefit in their own way from AAC recruiting. And so I think that if they're able to build up a program that maybe in year 2 or year 3, they're able to give SMU a scare or even beat SMU, I think that that's a great measuring stick for what this program should aspire to.
Lastly, can we get a record prediction for North Texas for this 23 season? Oh, did we lose each other?
I can't hear you.
Huh, that is odd. Let's see. Am I back on?
It might be on my end. Hold up, let me. All right, try now.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you still.
Can you hear me now?
Try now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, well, bit of a cliffhanger then. So picking up where we left off, last question. What is your record prediction for North Texas for this 23 season?
Yeah, I think that I feel pretty good around a 7-5, right? It's a tough schedule, like I mentioned. I mean, it's just running down the schedule. Probably a loss to Cal, but then win at FIU, win at Louisiana Tech. I mean, 2 straight road games against former conference opponents. That's a pretty tough way to start, too. ACU's a win. At Navy, I think they're going to be figuring some stuff out. Temple, I think that's probably a win. And then you really hit that main part of the schedule. At Tulsa is going to be a huge game for them to be able to go out and win. UAB is a team that I really don't know what to think about right this second, with Trent Tilfer obviously taking over that program. But I would probably favor North Texas in that game. And I think that they do have the ability to upset one of those four teams in the middle: Tulane, Memphis, UTSA, SMU. So I think that there are 7 wins there. If things kind of go well, I think it could certainly be more than that. It could be 8. But again, if it's 5 and a lot of really competitive games that they lose close, I think that you feel okay about that. But it would, I think, be a big deal for this program to go bowling in year 1 of their tenure in the AAC.
Absolutely. Well, Shehan, I cannot thank you enough for your time. I know it's a busy time for you, and it's only going to get busier. So thank you so much. Really enjoyed your input on the Mean Green, and good luck with covering all the things that you have to cover this football season.
Thank you so much for having me.